Pankaj Sharma, Schneider Electric's Global Executive Vice President, Secure Power Division, considers the importance of reducing greenhouse gases as a measurable sustainability objective, alongside the need to reconsider some data center fundamentals, as well as recognizing the demands of the digital world.
Okay, I mean, one angle you mentioned there, quite an important one, is the greenhouse gases and the scopes 1, 2, and 3. I'm just wondering there, I mean, it's clearly a good way of measuring and helping people improve what they're doing in terms of their carbon, reduce their carbon footprint. But scope 3 is quite a difficult thing to if you like see through, because it's your supply chain, and therefore you're trying to keep tabs on any number of people that are dealing with the organization. Do you think it is a challenge that can be overcome with the right will, or do you think it is very difficult to actually understand completely all of the environmental impacts of your extended supply chain, if you like?
It is possible. Again, if you have the level of detail, it's possible. So I'll give you an example. So think about Schneider Electric. When we look at our own scope 3, it's basically what we buy from our suppliers, right? So we have thousands of suppliers, obviously, but then we don't buy 80% of what we buy is from a set of suppliers. So if they are going to decarbonize their operations, which is what we help them with, by the way, then what our scope 3, which we get, becomes highly decarbonized, which is what we supply to our customers, and that becomes their scope 2, right? So is it possible? Yes, but it needs a lot of effort, because you have to work outside of your organization. In our case, as an example, we have to work with our suppliers so that they decarbonize their operations, so that what they give us is the least carbon emission. And then when we create products and solutions out of it, when we give it to our customer, it's the least, right? So that's sort of the cycle, which the way this works. Is it possible? It's definitely possible with that level of detail and willingness, by the way. That's very important. Can it happen instantly? No, it cannot, because this means a change in the way products are and components are built. So that takes time. And that's why, if you think about it, the commitments everybody's making is up to 2030. It's not like tomorrow morning, right? But it has to be paced. And this is the other thing which the regulatory organizations are saying. They're saying, okay, your commitment is 2030, but okay, what does that mean today? What does it mean in 23, 24, 25, and go year by year? Don't just say, okay, would have reduced so many million tons by 2030. Okay, but what about tomorrow? What about day after, right? So that's the level of detail. It's possible.
Okay, and I mean, I say greenhouse gases, there's been a reasonable focus on that, but that's only one part. You alluded earlier, I think, to the Schneider's sort of 5-point plan. What else do you think the data industry needs to do? And I know there's also this sort of debate as to whether they should do it voluntarily, as they've been allowed to now, or will somebody at some stage step in and say, actually, here's a set of regulations, whether it's country governments or something a bit more, I don't know, whether the EU, for example, would do it. I don't know. What are your thoughts as to how that kind of framework can be developed as to what needs to be done?
Well, look, again, from a data center industry point of view, which I can definitely speak to, greenhouse gas emissions is one. It's not the only one. So like I said, there are 5 parameters, right? So there's waste. Waste is not just greenhouse gas, it's any type of waste. There's biodiversity, which is a location. There's water, and then there's greenhouse gas, and then there's the whole energy aspect. So it's the 5 pieces which are important from a data center industry perspective. Likewise, I'm sure other industries are thinking about, what else they need to think about. But we have to remember that when you think of the climate impact, greenhouse gas emission is the biggest contributor to the climate impact. And by the way, within greenhouse gas emission, 80% of that is carbon dioxide. So, it's almost like when you think about when you're trying to solve a problem, let's go after the biggest piece of the problem. And once that is solved, then you go after the smaller ones, right? So it's like the 80-20 rule. And that's really what's happening today.
Okay, and I mean, I know there's also been a bit of interest in terms of maybe data center location. The Nordics are, if you like, on the ascendancy, because they have, I mean, the climate's good for starters, I guess, for free cooling, but they also have fairly large supplies of renewable energy. We've got the problem of legacy data centers. I mean, I don't know how possible it is to ever make a legacy data center completely sustainable, just because obviously when it was built, how it was built, etc. And then, as you alluded to earlier, we have the underlying problem that we need more data centers to underpin the digital world, which we're told is only in its infancy. So if that's not too complicated a question, how do we sort of bring all those things? Is it possible to square that circle, bring everything together so we have a digital lifestyle, but we have sustainable digital infrastructure?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, Philip. I mean, and I can tell you there is no simple answer to this. Can we I mean, you're asking it in a very simplistic way, actually, put a square in a circle. Is it possible? I mean, no, it's not. I don't think it's possible. You can do some pieces of it, and I can give you some examples. Now, we would all like to make all the data centers in the world in the Nordics. You're right? I mean, if you could, but then can Nordics even support so many data centers? No, right? I mean, the amount of energy needed to run those data centers is not enough, even in the Nordics. It does have a climate advantage, right? So you can be less invested on cooling and stuff like that. Now, the point here is also, like you said, there are so many legacy data centers which have been built in all over the world, and they're important because more and more with data, you need data centers closer to customers, because otherwise it defeats the whole purpose of compute. Because if it's so far away, then the whole experience, which is what you need to enable things like medical, things like education, etc., that experience is lost, right? So that's why you have to build data centers everywhere. I think the point is, if you have legacy data centers built in different parts of the world, which are not the Nordics, as an example, there are still things which can be done, right? You could use better technologies to upgrade those data centers. And I'll give you an example. For example, we have in Schneider, I mean, not just Schneider, when you think about physical infrastructure of a data center, you need medium voltage switchgear, right? And medium voltage switchgear is something which inherently uses a gas called SF6, which is even worse than CO2. So the technology, the new technology which we have, is that medium voltage switchgear now it just runs on air, normal air, which we all breathe, right? So you don't need SF6 gas. So as a part of your upgrade, you got to choose to use technologies which are more sustainable, right? Similarly, when you think about free cooling systems, so we have technologies around there which use very little water, right? And the water is also circular in nature, which means you're not taking any extra water. It's just going inside out of the system. So once you put in, it's the same set of amount of water which you're using, right? So like that, there are various technologies available. So the intentional goal has to be to upgrade your data centers, even if it is not located in a Nordics type of environment, with technologies which help reduce carbon emission. So that part is possible, but can that make it 100% sustainable data center? Let's say, for example, if there's no renewable energy available in a location where you build a data center, there's nothing you can do about it, right? I mean, how do you can't create that. So those are some examples. Technology can help a large part of the deployments in different parts of the world. Can it make a 100% change equivalent to something which can be built in the Nordics? Obviously not.